Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's Writers Chat. We are so glad to see everybody today. And we welcome everybody here that if you're in the chat and if you want to stay on today, it's a little bit different. We're going to invite you to stay on. So we have some really, really good conversations with our special guests today. And again, we'll welcome whether you're watching the replay or not to this is a place we like to gather together as writers and talk about all things writing for writers and by writers. And so that's what we're talking about again today. We have a good writers discussion today and love this community. And I hopefully will give you guys something to think about and grow today. I'm going to turn it over to my co-host, Brandy, who's going to introduce our special guest today. So Brandy, take it away.
Good morning, everyone, and happy Valentine's Day. We have a special guest today who is going to talk to us about the heart of writing. And there's so many things that he could talk about, as he has said a little bit before the recording. So we're excited to see what he has chosen to hone in on for the topic of the heart of writing. But before we introduce him in, let me tell you a little about who he is, what his name is. Writing coach of award-winning authors Larry J. Leech II has spent more than 40 years working with words. After a journalism career that included 2,300 published articles, Larry started freelance writing and editing in 2004. He has ghostwritten 30 books, edited over 400 manuscripts, and taught at numerous conferences nationwide. Let me tell you, I have heard Larry speak before, and he truly has the heart for writers. He is the perfect one to talk to us today about the heart of writing. Larry, we welcome you, and we thank you so much for coming today.
Brandy, thank you for having me today. It's and happy Valentine's, everyone. I won't be long today, so we can all get out and get our Valentine stuff done. I know a number of us have others that we want to celebrate with. So thank you again. In the description that I sent, I talked about playing cardiologist. So I don't quite have a white lab coat on, but I did put a white shirt on. I'm going to play doctor here for a few minutes. So let me get started with that. All right, so imagine you're sitting in exam room like we all have, and the doctor comes in and he has a device sometimes, and he looks at his device and goes, okay, nurses checked your vitals, your height, your weight, pulse. Okay, your pulse seems a little elevated right now. Are you nervous about anything? Well, let's hope not. Wow, your blood pressure looks like it might be up. Maybe it's that because your nerves, or maybe you're in pain because you have to sit and listen to me babble for an hour. So we'll do what we can to get that back down to normal. O2 level looks good. Meds, nothing out of the ordinary. Okay, so that seems to be okay. So let's talk about the heart and how it pertains to writing. But before I go any further, not only is today Valentine's Day, as we all know, Brandy's background is awesome. I think maybe she should share that with all of us. This February is American Heart Health Month. For anyone who has dealt with heart disease in any number of ways, we know that this month is particularly important to people. But why is a healthy heart important? Well, in life, according to the CDC, heart disease is the leading cause of death in the United States. Okay, I'm not going to bore you with a bunch of medical terms or things like that, but the heart is important, obviously, in life, but it's also important in our writing. So today, what I want to do is look at the condition of your heart and that 3 possible issues that you might have to deal with as it pertains with your writing career. The first one is, why are you here? Why are you a writer? Have you been called to write? Do you write just to Do you journal? Do you write just to deal with feelings? Whatever your purpose of writing is, I think every once in a while we have to check ourselves of why we do what we do. I mean, if you want to, if you're a a journaler, okay, and you get up in the morning and you just journal to get the brain going, to get thoughts out, to get those emotions out, and clear clear your feelings to start the day in a positive way, or you know maybe you're called to write. Some people have said that writing is like breathing to them. They can't exist without writing. And I will never disparage or discredit anyone if they feel like they are called to write, because God uses the people he wants to use to get a message out that he feels the world needs to hear. Now, when that happens and you step into that calling, and I just scrolled through, there's a number of people that I recognize on the call today. They've heard me say this. We often deal with an enemy who sits on our shoulder and chirps in our ear while we write. Oh, you use that verb? Wow, that's pretty weak. Oh, that's your idea for a story? No way, no one's ever going to buy that. So we sometimes feel like we sit with one hand on the keyboard and the other hand knocking the enemy off the entire time. But when we step into our calling, when we know through prayer and confirmation from others that we're doing what we're supposed to do, no matter how much he chirps in our ear, actually, when he's chirping in our ear, we know we're doing the right thing. Because if he's not chirping, then we have strayed off into the woods and we're writing about things that doesn't matter. We're not feeling our call there. So why are you writing? I mean, some people write for money. That was one of my main goals when I first transitioned from my journalism career to writing and editing. And I'll never forget, shortly after Wendy and I were married, I walked through our living room into the part of the house where we had a small hallway that went into 2 bedrooms and a bath. And I stepped into that hallway and the Lord very clearly said, "You're not doing this to make a lot of money." And I'm like, okay, can I make enough to pay my bills? It would be nice to be James Patterson, who makes $80 million a year, but you know, that's not what we're all called to do. Sometimes it's just to get that message out. And sometimes it's to do a work in you, because those who have completed a project can tell you. And I'm not sure everyone's where they are in their writing journey, but those of us who have finished a book, even when I ghostwrite for someone else, I am different. I am changed on the inside after I've completed a project. Most of my ghostwriting has been my memoirs, so I'm helping someone else tell their story about something that has happened in their life, but it still changes me. And I'll get to that, more of that in here in a minute. The calling, and I want to transition into my next point with this one. Back when I was the final days of my journalism career, I was the editor of Christian Retailing Magazine, which at the time, I see a couple people nodding. Notice the editor and me, I did not say nodding their head, because that's redundant. Just nodding. When I was the editor of CR, we covered the inspirational market, and our target audience was Christian retail stores. So we reported on books and music, etc. most of the bookstore owners at that time, the average demographic was women in their late 50s who opened a bookstore as a second revenue stream because their husband worked. Almost all of them felt they were called to open this bookstore. Okay. Some made it, some didn't. Those who made it are the ones who invested in their calling. Because most of them, in my conversations with them over the 5 years I was editor, most of them had no business background. So they're called to open a bookstore with no idea what to do. Don't know how to order, don't know how to display, nothing. But those who succeeded studied. They went to workshops. They went to online classes. Online classes weren't that big back in the early 2000s, but they learned. They got a mentor. They studied how to make their store appealing and then how to communicate with consumers. So I've talked about for a few minutes, why are you here? Are you called to do this? Do you do it because you need to breathe? Or do you do it just to get emotions out? Whatever the reason, that is between you and God. Now, the second issue is how active are you? Now, I said I would transition to this. In the writing community, we all know if you want to write, you have to be active. You have to read. But how active are you? Do you go to writers' conferences? If you do, how many do you attend a year? Granted, I know writers' conferences are pretty expensive now, even for 2 or 3 days, but more and more are offering an online option, which was born out of the pandemic when we all had to meet online. Even gatherings like this, we didn't do this kind of thing before the pandemic. You pretty much met in person or communicated via email in a writers group, and now we get to see each other's faces. Sometimes in the morning like this, sometimes at night, like, I said, I'll call out Becky. Becky's group meets a lot of times in the evening. But whatever it is, how active are you in the writing community? Do you have a mentor? Do you have someone that you can have or can tuck under and they can guide you along and they can encourage you? Can you do that for someone else? Are you part of a writers group that meets in person or online? The online groups have been great. The accountability there, it goes beyond just the email or a phone call or a text. But even being part of a text group can be advantageous. I'm part of a text group here in the South Carolina, Greenville area. The group meets often on Mondays. If you can't make it, that's fine. But every day someone texts something in our group. So we have accountability, we have brainstorming, we have encouragement. I'll be honest, I was nervous as heck before this talk today. So I texted a group and said, hey, I've never been this nervous before a talk. Can you guys pray for me? And within minutes, almost everyone had responded. So that accountability, that encouragement. Writers' conferences, those of us who have taught and attended over the years, man, what a great place to connect. I'm going to scroll through. I'm sure most people on here have been to a conference at some point. I do see some familiar faces. I'm not going to call anyone out yet, but I probably will at some point. But, be active at a writers' conference try to get to as many as you can. Maybe one a year is all you can afford. But I would encourage you to not fill your entire schedule before you leave. When I was the editor at Christian Retailing, my first couple industry events, we had two at the time. We had, I can't remember the winter show, Expo. And then in the summer, we had the big CBA convention, and they were all held in different places. Well, being the editor, people wanted to meet me. So I filled my entire schedule up before I left, my first two or three. Well, then I got to the shows and people would come up, hey, do you have time? Can you? And I'm like, I'm booked. Well, the other thing by loading up my schedule, I didn't allow for the divine appointments that God always has. So I would encourage you, when you plan on attending a conference, don't fill up every minute of every day. Let God show himself while you're in an event. The other thing I would encourage you to do is take classes, learn. Okay, even if you've written 20 books, 30 books, 50 books, take some classes. I've seen this so many times, and I'm sure there's others on here that have too. Someone will attend a conference and all they want to do is pitch their book or pitch their articles or find an agent. They're just in that mindset. I got to do this. I got to do that. Someone has to buy this. So I've got to talk to everyone I can. So everyone knows that I've got this article or I've got this book ready. No, be a sponge. Cease Murphy has been a mentor to many in the industry. Those who have been under Cease's tutelage have been blessed immensely by him. Okay. The thing that I have always admired about Cease is his willingness to learn, even beyond retirement. Cease retired in his early 80s, still works. Cease is 90. He just turned 90 in January 28th. Cease still is working with authors. He is still mentoring at his age. Impressive. But Cease also is like a sponge. He's still learning whatever he can. And so be active in the writing community, be a sponge, go to conferences. If you're new to this writing gig, get a writing coach, have someone with some experience come alongside of you and guide you. In my years of being a writing coach, I've seen a number of people try to do it on their own, and nothing wrong if they feel they can, if they have the motivation, they're a self-starter and they can do that. But too many times I've seen someone wander off in the woods with an idea and they talk to someone with experience and realize how far they've wandered off into the woods with their idea, their writing, and think, that's too much work. I'm just going to not deal with that. I'm not going to finish it. I've actually seen people give up writing completely. So a writing coach, someone that can guide you along through the process, make contacts for you if you don't have any. And maybe there's someone in here that feels they are ready to be a writing coach for people that are coming up behind us. I scrolled through a couple times already. Like I said, I know some people in here that would make great writing coaches because they put the time in, they have the dedication, and they have the heart to help other people. Because when you're a coach, as we know, when it becomes about you, it's time for you to step out. One thing that I like about being a ghostwriter, my words, my voice should never show up in their work. It's all about them. And it's the same with a writing coach. Accountability partners are great. If you have someone who can text you and say, hey, how you doing? You get that chapter done. You came to mind today, been praying for you. I'm just someone on here knew I was nervous, so they called and prayed for me today. And that friendship, that accountability can help keep you with the right heart, because as much as we sometimes have to flip the enemy off, push him off our shoulder, he also can make us full of pride and arrogance. You know what? My novel just went #1 on USA Today bestselling list. Look at me. Wait, pat myself on the back till my arm gets tired. So having people around us that can keep us humble is important. So the activities, be active in the writing community. All right, so I am babbling like a storm this morning.
It's
Okay.
all good.
Well, it's not normal for me. I'm normally talking with other people, but all right, so let me get to this next point. Okay, healthy habits. Okay, healthy habits include a lot of different things: eating habits, sleeping habits, exercise, your time with the Lord. Okay, I got my water too. Um, eating. Okay. Um, a couple things that I want to touch on here. We just turned the calendar yesterday, right? It seems like it anyway. So at the end of the year, we always seem to make resolutions. I'll eat better. Excuse me. I'll exercise more. Well, I was forced to this year because New Year's Eve, I was in the hospital with a possible heart attack, which we found out was a gallbladder attack. Well, guess what I had to do? Change my diet. And one of the things I added to it was more water. My wife is a water pusher. Oh, you have a headache? Drink some water. You're tired, fatigued? Drink some water. Okay. So drinking more water has helped me personally. But a lot of people, when they change their diet, throw out the old ways and try to establish an entirely new routine. About 20 years ago, I edited a manuscript for a publisher about dieting. And this author suggested, instead of changing everything all at once, introduce one good thing into your current diet. And this was their crazy example. If you eat a Snickers bar and drink chocolate milk for breakfast, okay, add an apple. After a while, you won't want the chocolate bar because the apple will provide what you need with sweetness, or I don't remember all the other details. So and that has stuck with me all these years, because as we probably have done in our own lives, I say we because I've done it, wanted to completely change my diet, eat healthy, no more chips during Super Bowl Sunday or any day watching Chicago Fire or Castle or any of that. You know, yeah, that didn't happen. Maybe for a week. And then it was back to the chips, or my wife and I are trying to get rid of sugar. Very hard, very difficult to do. But for your diet, add something good to your current diet if you want to change your diet. And don't just dump the old diet and try something new. Just add something good to your current diet. For me, was the water. Okay. Not kidding. Before my episode, and there were actually 3 of them, I would drink less than 3 ounces of straight water a day. Now, I got 20 ounces with my chai latte and some sweet tea and things like that. But just straight water, if 3 ounces might be pushing it. Now, I think I'm drinking 60 to 70 ounces a day. What has that done for me? Honestly, I have less aches and pains. I don't feel tired like I used to. My mind seems to be clearer. You know, my wife's not here, but I will admit all this to her. So just try to add something good to your diet. See how if that works for you. Okay, exercise. All right. I have bragged for years, particularly since I went to freelance work, that I get to sit on my butt all day and work. Love it. Okay. I don't have to get up. I'll talk to anyone. I can sit in my chair all day if I want to. Yeah, not good for me. Probably not good for you either. One of the things Wendy and I started last year was, well, actually 2 years ago, we started walking. Well, when it gets below 70 degrees here in South Carolina, I don't want to go outside. I'm a Florida boy. It's got to be hot if you want me to exercise outside. So quit doing that. Last year, we joined a gym. Actually, I joined the gym in December of 21 and didn't go for a year. Finally went to the gym for the first time in December of 22 with Wendy. So started a workout program. Nice, easy, nothing hard, nothing difficult. You know, I'm never going to be the Hulk. I'm built more like the Ant-Man from the Marvel Universe. So maybe Tony Stark, I don't know, but never the Hulk. But I've also found for me, just get up every once in a while and move instead of sitting 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day in my chair. Those who know me well know that I love to golf. So I'm pointing to the left because I have a 13-foot putting mat 2 feet from my desk. I need to get up and get my body moving. I just get up and putt for a few minutes just to do something. I have a hitting net downstairs in our basement. We have a full-size basement, so I have a hitting net. I'll go down there 10 minutes just to get away from my desk and get my body moving. So whatever exercise you're capable of doing, I know there's someone on here that recently went through a major health issue. You know, whatever you're capable of doing, I would encourage you just get up and get moving around, because when the heart's physically healthy, it helps our brain. And I see a lot of people posting comments. I haven't looked at any of them. I'm sure there's some great comments in here. I'm anxious to go through them here in a little bit. All right, so healthy diet, exercise, just, I don't know. I think there's a commercial about get the body moving. But I do know I wear Nike. So Nike says, just do it. All right, and healthy habits, sleep. When I was younger, during one of my 11 moves in my 20s, I stayed with some friends, and the guy noticed, Larry, you can sleep 4 hours a day, and then on Saturday you sleep all day. I can't 8 hours of sleep for me to function. And I know some people get up in the morning and the first thing they do to kickstart their heart is to grab that caffeine. I've done it too, but I don't make my caffeine here. Sleep is so important to our health. And I know this may sound weird talking about exercise and sleep habits, how it pertains to the heart. But if we are not physically and mentally in shape, we can't write well. And I'm not saying that every time we sit down, even if it's for 10 minutes, that we have to pound out the best words that we've ever written, because we all know the writing is always like this, and the work is in the rewriting. But to put our best foot forward, whether it's for 10 minutes or an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, or words, 540 words, as someone here likes to promote. to be at our best, have to eat well and get our rest. One of my favorite quotes is from Peter de Vries, who says, I only write when, oh my gosh, it just escaped me. I only write when I feel motivated, but I make sure I'm motivated every morning at 9 a.m. Okay. So in order to do that, to make sure that we are putting our best foot forward, our best words into a computer, or those who may still write out by hand, have to take care of our physical bodies. I'm sure some of us, if not all of us, have tried to write when we've had 2 hours of sleep. We're holding one eye open like this and typing with the other hand. Or we have procrastinated and have to write 10,000 words in the next day to make our deadline for the publisher because the editor keeps asking, where's your manuscript? So some of what I'm talking about is that discipline to take care of yourself. I know some people have written books, Soul Care for the Writer. Those are great books. How to take care of ourselves physically and mentally. And what about our time with the Lord? How important is that to you in your writing journey? Do you get up late in the morning? I've done it. I want to be at work at 9 o'clock. I wake up 8:55. Well, guess what? I am not ready for the day. Okay. I'm grumpy because I've overslept. I'm running behind. I haven't spent any time with the Lord. I haven't thrown any food in my stomach, nothing. So playing catch up all day long. I am not the most kind person in the world. Did I say that out loud? So spend time with the Lord in the morning. I have a friend, when I first started working at Christian Retailing, he talked about easing into his day, particularly on the weekend. And I thought, what a great concept. Get up, spend time with the Lord, read a Bible app, get part of a Bible study group. Guys like to meet in the morning before they go to work. Spend that time, get some food in you, however you get ready for work. When I first moved from corporate work into freelancing, a friend advised me, get up every morning and get ready like you're going into the office. Take a shower, get dressed, all of that. No one's going to see you, but who cares? Just get that mindset. And I want to circle back about that mindset. When you write, being active in the writing community, I would encourage you to have a writing spot that you consistently use. One thing I learned early on was don't make your entire house your office. I only work in my office. I don't work at the dining room table. Never have used my computer in the bedroom, ever. Wendy and I don't even have a TV in our bedroom because we don't want electronics in the bedroom. And that's my conviction. It doesn't have to be yours. I've had to do what I've had to do to be mentally prepared. I've written a blog about focus, free writing routine, how it correlates to golf. When I walk in my office door, clicks, I have to get to work. When I leave, I try to leave it here. Sometimes I take it downstairs and Wendy and I talk about it. When I'm at Starbucks, which now that I can get back out and work at Starbucks again, set up my computer, get my drink. I sit it in the same spot next to my mouse, and everything is just clicking my brain to get ready to work. Now, I want to circle back. I was talking about your time with the Lord. Linda Goldfarb posted something this morning that I want to read. This was on her Facebook, and I just happened to scroll, and I caught this. So I want to read this from Linda. Who loves you more than life? And who alone can set your path straight bring you unyielding joy and eternal pleasures. There is only one. We read in God's word from Psalm 16:11. You make known to me the path of life. You will fill me with joy in your presence, with eternal pleasures at your right hand. The Messiah, our Lord Jesus, fills us with joy as we discover more about him. How wonderful that there is this path for you and me, a path filled with purpose and a promise. Some of my most intimate times with the Lord have come when I've been writing. There have been times that the Lord has poured into me so strongly that I couldn't keep up. I could not type fast enough. And when it stopped, I literally went, oh, come back. And so spending that time with the Lord to get our heart right for our work. Because if we try to do this to be a New York Times bestseller, a USA Today bestseller, we may be wandering off into the woods. So I've talked about this before in other workshops, and I think this applies here. If you don't have a prayer team praying over each of your projects as you work through them, I would encourage you to do that. Be specific when you reach out to them. Hey, I'm starting a new project. It's this particular topic. These are my prayer needs right now. Would you be willing to be part of the prayer group for me? And as you move through the project and prayers are answered, let them know. And as new prayer requests come up, ask them. Those who have prayed for others know that joy of hearing about you. So let them know. And obviously, when you write your acknowledgments, acknowledge them in your book as well. Excuse me. Every time I ghost for a client, I encourage them to have a prayer team, because although they are not writing, they will face obstacles as well, particularly when it comes to memoir, because a lot of times you have to deal with touchy subjects and, sensitive turmoil, I guess is one way to say it. So, all right. So I promised on my Facebook page that I would babble for a little while. So, and I have done that, but I want to read a couple scriptures that stuck out to me when I did my research. And this little note stuck out to me as well. In Strong's Concordance of the Bible, in the King James Version, the brain is not mentioned one time. The mind is, but the brain is not mentioned. But the heart is mentioned 826 times. All right, so here are a couple scriptures about heart. These are all NIV. Psalm 139, 23 and 24. Search me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. So if there is any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. Jeremiah 17:10. I, the Lord, search the heart and examine the mind, to reward each person according to their conduct, according to what their deeds deserve. I like this one. Matthew 6:21. From where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And this one, when I had a computer center down home, Central Florida, I had this posted on my computer center. Psalm 51:10. Create in me a pure heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me. Saw that it was right by my screen. So it was never that far out of my line of sight. So whenever I wanted to pat myself on the back over something, I just would see that and be like, oh yeah, okay. All right, So I have talked about exercise, diet, why you write, time with the Lord. So what do we do? What happens when we're at the end of a doctor's visit? We get prescriptions. So here are some prescriptions. And I know I will end a little bit earlier today than normal. So we'll have plenty of time to chat. All right. All right. Here are your prescriptions. 1, write down 3 reasons why you write. Write down 3 reasons why you write. You don't have to do these right now, but at some point in the next week or so. Number 2, review the list with a trusted friend or mentor. This is part of your heart checkup. Review the list with a trusted friend or mentor. Oh, thank you, Gene. I was going to post them in the chat anyway. Okay, thank you. Get ready to write, Gene. This one's kind of long. Commit to attending a number of events that you can handle financially and physically. Commit to attending a number of events you can handle physically and financially, either in person or online. This is being active. All right, number 4. I'd like to hear some feedback on this one. So let me know. Number 4, make one change in your eating habits. Make one change in your eating habits. Okay. This next one, same thing. I would love to hear back on this one. Add one exercise to your daily program. Add one exercise to your daily program. If someone wants to come over and putt with me, my door's always open. Or better yet, we'll go golfing. All right, number 6. Adjust your sleeping habits if need be. I have to do that, not gonna lie. Tuesday, I'm horrible. I got hooked on Chicago Fire recently. I come from a family of firefighters. So far back that my grandfather started a volunteer company in Pennsylvania 80 years ago. That's how far firefighting goes back in my family. Well, I got hooked on this show. It starts on ION TV at 11 a.m. and it runs till 2 a.m. Guess who stays up till 2 a.m. almost every Tuesday night? So Wednesday, I'm toast. All right, adjust your sleeping habits if need be. Excuse me. Commit to reading more. I don't do this, but I admire people who do. Jerry Jenkins once said he reads 2 hours every night before he goes to bed. It's the last thing he does. 2 hours. That's a lot of reading. I know some people who read a book a week. My mother is insane. She reads 3 books a week, but she's a big reader. But commit to reading more. If you want to try to read a novel a week, maybe commit to reading 1 book a month on the craft. Writer's Digest has a great series of books. Some authors from the inspirational market have written for them. James Scott Bell comes to mind, Jeff Gerke, Stephen James. James Scott Bell and Stephen James also have some of their own books out. Okay, last prescription. Evaluate your time with the Lord. Is 5 minutes enough? Is 10 minutes enough? Do you need to break it up? 10 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the morning, and then 10, 15 minutes at lunch? I mean, I know a lot of people like to get up and have their quiet time in the morning. My wife is faithful. I almost said religious, not the right word, faithful about that. Me, I'm better if I break it up over the day. Excuse me, helps keep me centered more better. Okay, so those are your prescriptions. And my last little tidbit for the day. Remember, a healthy heart leads to a healthy mind, physically and spiritually. And a healthy mind leads to a healthy body. And a healthy body allows you to be active in the God calling that God has placed on you in your writing journey. Okay, I'm off to my next appointment. Thank you. You all have a good day. No, just kidding.
That's the way it would be in the doctor office too.
Yes, it would.
Please don't leave us yet.
Guys, thank you.
Those are some great tips. Absolutely great tips. Does anybody have any questions or anybody want to share some of these things? I know change your sleeping patterns. That's an owie for me. That's hard. Sleep in me is hard. I've been trying to change my sleeping patterns for over 3 years now, and I'm still failing miserably. So obviously I need to do something different.
So there have been a couple mentions in the chat on the general topic. What if you're trying to do the right things, you plan for a quiet time, etc., and then life screws it up, like someone is sick in the morning when you plan to have quiet time, or it just seems that no matter how hard you try, you have more priorities than time.
Davis Bunn said something years ago at a writers' conference that pertains to this. This was back in the day when we encouraged writers to write 1,000 words a day. Okay. Obviously, that number has changed over the years because we realized too many people could not write 1,000 words a day. It was just beyond what they were capable of doing. What Davis said, and this applies to what your question is here, if you miss a day, don't try to make it up the next day. Just keep moving forward. So
I'm guilty if I don't.
Yeah, I mean, okay, well, if you spend 5 minutes later in the day praying or reading a scripture, okay, you've done something. So I would encourage you, don't feel guilty if you don't get your whole time in. Don't put that's Satan putting pressure on you. Okay. The doctor is still in.
I learned a long time ago that I want to try to do a lot of these habits daily is my goal. But I practice to say I do them regularly. My goal is to do them daily, but life happens. Like Catherine said, life really, it doesn't work. So I don't rake myself over the coals for that. But can I say I practice this stuff, all these different practices, heart health practices, on a regular basis, and that eases it off just enough that I do start it the next day. You know what I mean? I keep going, Larry. So that it's a reframing for me.
What you want to say, Rachel? Just something that happened in the last few weeks. I was like absolutely not getting anywhere in something I needed to write, and was totally overwhelmed and running out of time, like way too close to the deadline. And it was just like, I don't have time to do anything, but it was just like, you know what? I'm not getting anywhere anyway. And I just stopped, turned on the praise music and took a praise break and just like focused on Jesus, like really focused on him. And it was amazing. Like the clarity and like even just the energy uptick from that. And the other thing I do sometimes when I'm smart once in a while, which is not that much, is I will go outside in the sun when there's such a thing here in New England. And, even if it's cold, because we do need sunshine, and maybe go call a friend, and I'll go do laps around the basketball hoop outside while I talk to a friend in the sun. And that does help my energy level because, you know, I was born tired and I have terrible sleeping habits, Larry. I'm the 4:20 a.m. writer. Sometimes.
Oh, bless your heart.
Bad,
People
bad,
that say
bad.
people that say they get up at 4 a.m. and write.
No. I mean,
No,
I
she's still up.
I'm still up.
I would tip my hat to you because there's one thing I do at 4 a.m.
No, Larry, I'm still up writing. Not that I get up. I'm not disciplined like that.
Oh, so you're watching Chicago Fire late into the night too, huh?
No, I'm just writing and going, help me, Jesus. So would love to switch my schedule.
It's a challenge. I mean, working from home, I had to learn some discipline in regard to that because when I first started working from home, I wanted to be that great husband. So I would do the dishes and I would sweep. Wouldn't do windows, don't do that. I would do laundry. Well, I learned very quickly in freelance, if you don't work, you don't get paid. So I had to learn. And then probably about 8 years into my freelance career, I did something that I heard a lot of authors have done, and I wanted to try it. I rented a home in southwestern PA, and I went away for a week and wrote the first draft of the novel. Well, I realized when my peak writing time was. So I changed my business model. This is back when I ghost wrote a lot. So writing, the afternoon became my sacred writing time, to the point that if you called me, emailed me, or text me, you wouldn't hear from me until after 6 o'clock. And in the morning, when I coached and I did emails and appointments and things like that, I'm not ghosting as much now. I haven't ghosted much in the last 2 years, 3 years. So I've opened up my schedule, but I had to learn some disciplines. It's not easy. I'm kind of hard-headed and slow to do things. Pam, you have your hand up.
Yes. I think we hold on to our plans too tightly, because I used to do that, and then God gave me Anna, my special needs adult daughter, and Anna has seizures every day. So I learned real quick that, well, that takes priority over, everything. But then I've learned to be flexible and write when I can. I used to write in the emergency room. I used to write when I stayed overnight in the hospital with her. When she was in school, I could write. When I was homeschooling, I'd set my youngest daughter on her, and then we have to be flexible. It forced me to be flexible, because I thought, if I make a plan and I don't keep it, then I'm wrong, and so sometimes, God forces you into learning and being flexible, and I'm thankful for that.
Pam, thank you for sharing that. That's a good reminder to not stress if we can't keep a schedule. I mean, it
all works out anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
It always does.
It's unnecessary. And I want to piggyback on your point there. I've discovered in the last 2 to 3 years, I am not as fast as I used to be when I work.
Me too.
So, and I said earlier, I'll be 60 next month. So now when I budget time for a project, I have to budget more time, because I don't want to say plow through something, because it means I'm just hurrying through it, but I'm not as quick as I used to be.
I'm 64 today, so I feel that.
Happy birthday.
Thanks.
And I've had to accept that. And it took me a little while, but now that I accept it, it's like there's more peace. I don't stress about it.
Mhm.
Sophia, you have your hand up too.
Gotta find my unmute button. Yeah, thank you for coming, Larry. I always learn and I love to listen to your wisdom. Just on your prescriptions, I want to add that daily walk. I watch my grandson 3 days a week and he likes to go aside. So that's a fun little adventure always, and with my husband. But one thing I want to remind each of us, and I really feel like this is one of the messages God gives to me, to the people I'm in community with, whatever that community is, that our God is the one who rejoices over us with singing. He's never disappointed in us. He's excited for us when we make changes that are good for us, but it's not like he's stern about it. He just wants us to enjoy his presence. And Pam, I'm like you. I mean, that verse about help us to keep track of our days, or be good stewards of our days, because they're evil. The times are evil. I feel like the times are evil sometimes. I mean, I just feel like so much wants to encroach, wants to steal, kill, and destroy our opportunities. And I need to be a good steward of what God's placed in my hand. Even if it's just one little seed or one little talent, not because he's going to get mad at me, but because it's been a gift. It's a gift I've been given to give back to him. So those are just the thoughts that have come. And happy birthday, Pam.
I know. Happy birthday to me. I'm getting up after we're done here. Oops. I'm packing and I'm heading from New Jersey to Arizona to spend a week with my youngest daughter.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And we're going to the Ren Fair, and we're going to wineries, and we're going to take walks, because I can't do the hiking anymore. My body won't let me, but I can walk a little. So we're going to do that. Take a swim, do some writing. Yay.
Have
Well, enjoy.
fun. Have fun.
Yeah, enjoy.
Yeah. It is getting almost the top of the hour. And while the recording's still on, I'd like to at least get, and then before we thank Larry and kind of, ask Brandy to close up, then let's talk real quick about next week. Melissa, I know our speaker's here, at least she was on. She's still on. Yeah. Melissa, do you want to say something about next week? And then maybe even we'll ask Tina if she wants to say something.
Sorry, I was searching for my mute button too. Yeah, we're so excited that Tina Yeager is going to come and join us next week, talk about writing through tough times. And Tina, I don't want to put you on the spot unless you're okay with it, but if you would like to share a little bit, we'd love to hear a bit about what you're going to talk about next week.
Well, next week I'm planning to address what to do and what not to expect of yourself when you're writing through tough times, and the difference between writing through tough times and writing about tough times. There is a difference. So we're going to talk about some of what Larry talked about a little bit, like is regarding to self-care. So it'll dovetail really well into that, because you need that when you're writing through tough times. You need a lot of grace. And you need a lot of community support as well. So some of the things that Larry said really will help kind of lead into that a little bit. So I plan to have some discussions with you and take questions and kind of talk about that a little from a writer's perspective and a little from a therapist perspective. So we'll get a little bit of both things, and then also add in that very important spiritual component as well.
Wonderful. 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 Brandy, you want to wrap us up?
Oh, well, gosh, I don't know how much there is to wrap up. I mean, Larry, you did a wonderful job, and we thank you so much for coming. We have a lot of good things to think about and things to apply to our lives. And I'm just so thankful that you came today. We will see everybody next week. We will have everybody here stay for a little after party if you would like to, and Larry, if you don't mind, have a little bit of time. But we'll see everybody next week and hope that you got a lot out of this message today. And for anybody that wasn't here, we'll catch the replay. We always record, and we have all of our sessions up on YouTube and the Serious Writer channel under Writer's Chat playlist. So we invite you to browse through all of the teachings that we have there. There are a lot. Thank you for coming today. Thank you, Larry, for your wisdom, and we'll see everybody next week.